Children, you learned about the classification or organization of data in the last video, and you learned about the benefits of organizing the data, and with the numerical example you learned how to organize a raw data. Now today in this video we are going to learn about different methods of classifying or organizing the data. So the topic is methods of classification or methods of organization. You can write it as organization too. Organization. So topic is methods of classification of data or organization of data. Now we can learn the classification or organization of data one by one. Number one is chronological classification, which is also known as time series classification. Why it is known as a time series classification? Because chronological classification or time series classification means the classification done on the basis of time, such as year, week, month, day, hour, etc. So we are classifying the data, giving importance to the time. Time can be on the basis of hour, then day, week, month, year, etc. Now an example I have given here is year and number of students in a school. Okay, it can be in a school. So here year is the time. Here we have arranged or classified or organized the data on the basis giving importance to time. Here the time taken is year. Now in 2015 the number of students in that school is 2500. 2016 it has increased to 2600. In 2017 the number of students has increased to 2800. In 2018 number of students have increased to 3000. So here you can find both the year as well as number of students are changing. Here the change is increase. It can be either increase or decrease. You have learned about that particular topic as variables. We are coming on to variables in this particular topic itself. That is why I have reminded you regarding variables. Here how many variables are there? Two variables. X, that is year. Y, that is number of students. So there are two variables X and Y which is keeping on changing. Year is changing and the number of students are also changing. Here it is increasing. It can either be increasing or decreasing. So there are two variables here X and Y. Okay, so keep that in mind. Now here year, on the basis of year we have organized the data. So this kind of classification or organization on the basis of time is known as chronological classification or time series classification. So classification of data or arrangement of data or organization of data on the basis of time is known as chronological classification. It can be a day or an year or a week or a month or even an hour. Next we will move on to the second classification, that is spatial classification or organization of data. Spatial classification. What is the spatial classification? Spatial classification means the classification of data done according to geographical locations such as countries, states, cities, district, etc. So here the classification or organization is done on the basis of geographical location. That is very important, geographical location. So geographical location can be countries, states, cities, district, etc. So such a classification or organization is known as spatial classification. So I have given an example here. Example is yield of wheat in different countries in an year. Okay, so countries given here are Canada, China and Germany, and you can find the yield of wheat from hectare per hectare. It can be either in quintals or whatever may be. In Canada it is 3594, and in China the figure is 5055, and in Germany the figure is 7998. So you can find here the data is classified giving importance to countries. Likewise, it can be based on district, it can be based on states, etc. So, such a classification which is done on the basis of geographical location is known as spatial classification. Now, the next kind of organization or classification can be quantitative classification, which is very familiar to you. Classification of data or organization of data on the basis of quantity. Now, no special example is given needed for that. You can refer to the previous example. Here, see, quantity is given, right? So, on the basis of the quantity, if we are arranging a data, so here it is a mix of both spatial and quantity, but here we are giving importance to countries. Therefore, we can refer it as spatial classification. So, for quantitative classification, you can use this example pointing out you have given the data in the form of quantity. The production of wheat in different countries, the quantity is changed, it has increased here, isn't it? Therefore, this is an example of quantitative classification. That is the reason why I have not given a different example for quantitative classification. So, quantitative classification means what? The classification which is done on the basis of quantity. Now, we will move on to qualitative data or qualitative classification. Qualitative classification, sorry, it is quantitative classification. Okay. Quantitative classification means the classification of data based on certain attributes or qualities such as male, female, single, married, skilled, unskilled. All these are the attributes or qualities. So, if we arrange the data on the basis of that qualities or attributes, we call it as qualitative data. So, when you fill in certain data, you can find single or married, male or female, isn't it? So, when you arrange the data on the basis of some attributes or qualities, we can name it as qualitative classification. So, how many methods of classification we have learned? We have learned the 4 methods of classification. One is chronological classification based on time. Next one is spatial classification based on geographical location. Next one, quantitative classification based on quantity, and the last one, qualitative classification based on certain qualities or attributes. Okay, hope it is clear to you. Now we will move on to the next concept, that is variables. Okay, now just now I reminded you regarding variables which you have learned in the second chapter. Okay, now what is variables? Variables are those elements which keeps on changing. They are those elements which keeps on changing. Now let us take the previous example which we have learned. Now see, here X is a variable, Y is a variable. Why? The countries are changing, Canada, China and Germany. Here yield of wheat is also changing, that is also a variable. Now before that we took the example of chronological classification, right? Year is changing from 2015 to 2018, and number of students are also changing from 2500 to 3000. It can be either increase or decrease, but a variability is happening here, that is known as variables. So elements which are keeping on changing is known as variables. Okay, so it can be X variable, Y variable as well as Z variable. How it is Z variable? One more variable can be here. Take number of students. Here number of teachers also, if you add one more variable you will get as an Z variable. So how many variables here? X, Y and Z. So it depends on the data. So there can be 3 variables or 2 variables or 4 variables accordingly for a data. But what are variables? The elements which keep on changing is known as variables. Now mainly 2 types of variables we have to learn. They are discrete variables and continuous variables. So remember, 2 main categories of variables are discrete variables and continuous variables. Now let us see what is this discrete variables and what is this continuous variables. What are these discrete variables? Discrete variables are those variables which changes only in jumps, that is as a whole number. Example, a best example which I can make you clear is number of students in class 11 can be 12, 30, 35, etc. If somebody is asking you how many students are there in class 11, 11A or 11B, whatever it is, you will be saying, yeah, we are 35 in number, but you will not say we are 34 and a half, right? So that is the best example for discrete variables. It can occur only in jump or as a whole number. That means there is no 34 and a half student in a class. There is only 34 students in the class. So it occur only in a jump. That means it can appear only in a whole number. Number of students in a class can be 35 or 34. It cannot be in the form of a fraction or a decimal like 34 and a half or 32 and a half. So the variables which can occur in jump or as in a whole number is known as discrete variables. That means there is no 12 and a half or 30 and a half student in class 11. Now what is this continuous variables? Continuous variables are those variables. These variables cannot change in jump. These variables cannot change in jump. They cannot occur in whole number. They can change only in decimals or fractions. Example of students. But what is the example which I have given? For example, height of class 11 students. See 5'2" and 5'6". Isn't it? 5'2" and 5'6", height of the students. Okay, 5'2", 5 inches 2 feet height. So 5 feet 2 inches. Okay, so that is the height of the students. So this is how we measure the height of the students. 5'2", 5'6", isn't it? 1.5 liters. Okay, which can occur in fractions. So these are the variables which can occur in fractions or decimals. Okay, so 5 feet 2 inches is an example of continuous variables. So variables which can occur in fractions or decimals, they cannot occur in jump or they cannot occur in a whole number. That kind of variables are known as continuous variables. They occur only in fractions or decimals. How we calculate the height of the students of class 11 as 5 feet 2 inches and 5 feet 6 inches. Okay, so this is how we calculate the height of the students, that is known as continuous variables. So continuous variables are those variables which can occur only in fractions or decimals. They cannot change in jump or they cannot occur in whole number. But whereas discrete variables can occur only in jump or whole number. They cannot occur in fractions or decimals. So don't get confused with discrete and continuous variables. Normally mistakes can happen between continuous and discrete variables. So keep in mind once again, discrete variables are those variables which can occur only in jump, but whereas continuous variables are those variables which cannot occur in jump but only in fractions or decimals. Hope these classification or methods of classifying or arranging the data is clear to you. Thank you.